Hey, what's up, everyone? This is the Dattie podcast. Today is May 7th, 2024, and I am here with Matt Iulo from Scalp Micro USA and John Gerow from Gerow Hair Inc., two of the founding fathers of SMP, and especially here in the United States. I'm so happy to have you guys here. I contacted you back in February. I was like, I want to know the origin story of scalp micropigmentation. We went back and forth. We got the mutual location. I'm so happy to have you guys here. What's up, John and Matt? How you doing?
Hey,
what's up, my man? Pleasure.
So let's get into it. Both of you guys have several shops. So, John, where are your shops located?
So currently we're in Manhattan, right here on corner on 37th Street. We got Houston, we got Dominican Republic location, and we still got Miami and San Francisco.
Wow, five locations.
Yes.
And Matt, you also have five locations.
Yeah, and
Where
John
are
and
you
I
at?
have some shared turf, and then
Shared turf.
I had to go to parts of the world he wasn't in, but I'm here in Manhattan as well, over on Fifth Ave, and then we have Houston, we have Los Angeles, Chicago, and a clinic in Fort Lauderdale as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
South Florida looks rough right now. You both got a location here. I mean, there's a lot of artists out. Florida is just booming with SMP.
It's a weird market though in Florida.
Yeah,
man. No,
it was. It is, definitely.
It's different. It's different than any of the other markets I'm in, for good and bad. But
Why the bag?
I don't know. I think it's just like you said. There's a lot of people doing it in Florida.
Yeah.
I find that clients down there are, I'll call it as it is. I think they're a little more flaky, a little harder to get confirmations, a little harder to get them in the
door.
office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll make the consult, but they won't show up sometimes. It's like
the crypto. If the crypto market's down, they're not going to come in.
Yeah.
Sell one of the Lambos or something. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, and that's where a lot of people are moving down there too. There's tax benefits in Florida, right? You get
Oh yeah.
some
It's
benefits.
tempting, especially when you work here in New York.
Everybody from Long Island's moving out there right now.
That's what I
Yeah.
see. I mean, that's what I hear. A lot of people from New York are going down to Florida. For real,
Yep.
for real. All right, so let's get into it, guys. So as far as I know, you two both of your locations are probably a mile and a half from each other. When's the last time you've seen each other in person?
Meeting of the minds,
We
or
were just talking about this. I think it's the UK. Yeah.
in London, yeah.
Which was 3 or 4 years ago. That can't be the last time we ran into each other.
I know. I think sometimes I see you randomly on the
I
street.
see him across the crosswalk. I'm like, "Yo, John,
I was like, hey, man.
community home." No, it's the sad truth is we don't see each other quite enough, and not for any other reason than I think we're both busy. Sometimes we're not even really in the city.
I remember one time I see you at like Penn Station, and I had my bag of money. You're like, you don't believe in banks or something? I had like 30,000 in cash. I'm walking around Penn Station with it.
Which is the last place you want to walk around.
Yeah,
with
not with that
a
much
bag
money. We don't believe in.
I hope you have it
Don't
in the
tell the
bank,
IRS.
He pays his taxes. People.
That was a memorable experience. Yeah. But I think the last time we really hung, had a drink, sang some Backstreet Boys at an English pub was Meeting of the Minds.
That little pub, it was fun.
That was good with Paul Clark and the whole gang.
Yeah.
Shout out Paul Clark.
Yeah.
Shout out, man.
Well, let's. I want to, before we get into where you're at now, let's start from the beginning. Matt, where'd you grow up?
I grew up on Long Island, actually, where you reside now. So
Okay,
full circle,
explains
huh?
it. Okay.
Yeah, it explains it. yeah. But I like to think of myself Queens now. I've been living in Queens the last 10 years, but I grew up on Long Island, moved to Queens when I was 21, 22, and started working in the city doing this. And that's been my home base. New York's been my home base.
So every day you travel from Queens to Times Square?
Yeah, but it's
when
not
you're
fun.
not in one of the other locations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, New Yorker through and through. Let's go Knicks. Let's go Rangers. Let's go Mets, unfortunately. But
Mets or Yankees. I was
Mets,
just listening to Chrissy D, and he was good. He told this really good Mets story. You got to check that out. He was on Rogan.
Yeah, he was on Rogan, right? Yeah.
John, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the country, about 7 hours north of Manhattan in Naples, New York.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound Naples sounds nice though.
It's a Finger Lakes region. They call
you're
it
in Finger Lakes,
the
okay.
Finger Lakes. Yeah. So the myth is God laid his hands on the ground and created 5 fingers. So from space, it looks like 5 fingers. That's where they get the Finger Lakes from. So
Okay.
yeah, it's a little country. Chicken and cows and.
How
I was
long
a
were you
farm
up
boy.
there to? When did you move, I guess, more downstate?
Probably about 15, 16 years ago, I would say it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And John, what did you do before you got into SMP? What kind of work did you do?
Before SMP, I was an apprenticeship for a tattooing company, which my sister was a piercer for, and I was doing flipping houses actually for the state. I was doing it for these HUD homes, so I was kind of like bouncing back before. I was making like $43 an hour during them days. So.
Like doing labor?
Labor,
moving
yeah.
shit.
For New York, it was for New York State though. So
Nice.
crazy story is I wind up quitting that to take a chance with S&P back in them days. So everybody's like, you're gonna quit your job and start something that you know nothing about, and that's the chance I took in life, man.
Yeah.
I said, I'm gonna do it, and it cost me a divorce, but I did.
Oh, so you had been married before?
Well, yeah,
that was
yeah.
going to be my
Yeah.
next question. So
Yeah.
do you have kids? You married?
It was an ex at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So you got divorced, and I know you have a daughter.
Yep. So she's 16 now. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Matt, what about you? You married? You have kids?
No kids, not married currently. Have a dog. Have a beautiful dog. Yeah, little
Yeah,
golden
I
doodle.
saw you have the curly haired dog. What's it called?
Yeah, a little golden doodle.
Okay,
It's a
golden.
typical New York City girl dog.
Dude,
so the New York City guys walking.
She's
with the
great
poodle.
though, man. That's the
I
only.
seen her one time on Instagram. Somebody shared it, and I seen it.
Oh, really?
The puppy. Yeah.
Yeah,
I seen it.
she's a beauty. So that's my responsibility.
do
after
they
work.
let you take? Is it give you a hard time when you're traveling?
No, I mean I haven't really flown her, but she's in the office with me most days, and one of the first days I brought her in, she was like hugging one of my clients who was nervous as shit. So
Wow.
she's like a good mascot for the company. And
Do you take the train in or you drive?
take the subway in?
Okay.
Yeah,
you
subway.
take subway in as
I
well.
take Long Island Railroad. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your commute? What are you guys' commute times?
45 minutes. 40 minutes, maybe.
I'm 20 door to door, but that's why I like convenience. So I roll out of bed, take the 7 train, one stop.
I used to run into this guy all the time, but then you must have moved because I don't see you at Penn Station no more.
Yeah, you don't drive in New York though.
Yeah.
The client, I always think the clients that drive in that are local, I'm like,
yeah.
what is wrong with you, man? I mean, I get it. They want to, be in their own car, but the cost of the tolls, the headache, the congestion, the
terrible.
parking.
$100 for parking most of the time.
I took the Amtrak up. Took me 2 hours.
There you
Moved
go.
here, got off Penn Station, and took a taxi over here. And there's no rules in the taxi.
Yeah, we can make a city boy out of you, yeah. Man.
Hey, New York is great to visit. I just want to live here. I respect you guys living here. It's just I'm a paranoid person. I always think some crazy shit's going to happen, and a lot of competition here for fighting for resources. That's my paranoia.
Yeah, but you look like you know maybe you do some good MMA, some jiu-jitsu or something. Which
I wrestled. I was in the
yeah.
military. I was in the Navy.
Oh, you're fine.
But I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to resort to any violence. Man, I can't believe you guys are here because I've been thinking about this for for a while before I actually got the courage to ask you to do it because I'm like, fuck, are they going to want to do this shit? They're both really busy. You guys are traveling. I mean, you're flying to San Francisco in a couple of days. Man, I'm sure you're traveling somewhere soon.
Mexico, I'm doing a little stint in Mexico City, which been on Duolingo, Studio Español.
Are you learning Spanish? I mean, you in Colombia?
Un poco, yeah. Every night I do a little Duolingo. I try to speak as much as I can. I'm not very good, but I can, ask for food and say thank you very much. So
That's it.
Yeah. And now with AI, I don't know if you've seen this, a little cheat. I've been transforming some of my videos, some of the learning videos with a great AI app. And if you see, you can go on my Instagram, you would think I spoke fluently for my whole life in Portuguese and Espanol.
Oh, wow.
The only problem now is people are going to think I can actually speak like that. So when they meet me in person, they're going to be a little.
And you could pass. You could pass as a.
Oh yeah.
You could pass for a few different things.
Oh, I've heard that before.
You can. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard that before. Yes. So
that's good for you. Did you see the Mr. Beast video? Is that I'm going to translate all this shit into Spanish? You get more viewers, right? You get more views, and it builds a bigger audience.
I think it's smart. I just think I know you travel a lot. You've been actually Brazil too. You were actually one person. I just got back a few months ago, which was fucking amazing. Brazil's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Rio.
I was at a conference. Shout out to Lorraine at BSB, but in Brasilia. But I spent time in Rio and Sao Paulo, and you need Portuguese, so I was trying to pick that up. But
It's different than Spanish, actually. Yeah.
it is. But Latin America as a whole, I'm very bullish on. I think for many reasons, not just obviously permanent makeup, but I think they have a love for this type of industry. They have a love to learn. So I want to just be able to reach more than just the English speaking population. So
Yeah.
When
That's smart.
you were at that conference, did you speak in English and use a translator?
yeah, they'll usually. I mean, I put my slides in the native country, so I'll do that in Colombia or Spanish or whatever. But they'll usually have translators because it's international. So they'll have a guy. I actually know a guy, Felipe, I think, and he'll sit back there and he'll translate. He could speak 5 different languages, so he'll translate. They'll wear headsets like this, the audience, and they can hear
yeah.
me.
Most of them are like that.
Portuguese.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really cool. Yeah.
You guys go way back. Let's get to it. You guys go way back.
The way.
This scalp micropigmentation origin. Where did it start? From your perspective, kind of, where did it start? How did you get into
The
it?
origin story. First of all, I just want to say, I think people maybe have a perception. I've been in S&P for a while. That know John and I, and know that we were, early on in this and we're together. But they think, oh, they work in the same city. They're in Manhattan. They're down the block from each other.
Yeah.
They probably, they have, they beef. They don't really like. It couldn't be further from the truth. I think
So you don't hate each other?
No.
We're all let down. Everyone's let down.
No, I know.
Friendly competition, man. That's all we've always been. Like,
I mean, we could do a little we could play a little Mercy or something and fight it out. But no, John and I, we'll talk about the origin story, but John and I go way back, probably 2011, 12.
Yeah.
That's when we first met with the company we started with his hair clinic,
Yeah.
the UK-based company. And yeah, we'll tell stories, but we worked together. We traveled together in many instances.
we slept in the same bed together.
Oh, John,
we've been around.
God damn it. There's a story to that, all right?
There's a long story to that one.
But we spent some time
How,
together for sure.
how did you both get into his hair clinic? Like, who was first in there, and then how did that start? Like, were you losing your hair and you found his hair clinic? First of all, what is his hair clinic?
I know that I had my treatment done in early 2011.
SMP.
SMP. So
Were they calling it SMP at that time?
I believe so. Yeah,
I
it's got
think it was MHT, maybe.
micro hair pigmentation.
Micro hair
Well,
tattooing.
the Brits always do some weird shit with their acronyms.
You sound like you're from London. Shout out Paul Clark.
Hey,
Paul Clark, man.
Paulie. Yeah. And so actually, I traveled over there to the UK because it wasn't available here. In 2010, 2011, there may have been I think there was a gentleman in Florida.
Yeah, we don't want to say his name.
All right, that's fine.
Somebody I actually was working with closely in the beginning, but it was kind of a situation where I helped another guy that was working with me leave that company, so they blamed me because this guy left and took off. So I don't want to say the name, but they started, I believe, online you could see maybe 2010. So that company was probably the first solo tattoo artist to do S&P in the United States.
Yeah, I say they were the first to commercially start doing it. When I went over there in early 2011, they had a house, a shop. You've been to that? House in Birmingham. Yeah. But that's normal. It wasn't a weird thing. They had commercial units that were in the house in Birmingham. So I traveled over there, landed in London, took a train up to this little home in Birmingham, and to a little home in Birmingham, and walked in. I saw a guy that had it done. It was the first time I ever saw anything like it. Honestly, I didn't think it looked that great.
Back in the days, it was no.
But I was so jet lagged. I was like, "Fuck it, all right. Let me sleep it off." And then next day, got the treatment done. Got to meet Paul while my stay was there. Paul Clark. So he was there for a few months at the time, and Zhang, who was there, who helped do my treatment. So that was early on. I don't know when you had yours done, but it's probably similar timing, I would think. Right?
Mine was 2000 in April 2010 was my first treatment.
Were you in London as well?
I was in this happened in Florida. I forgot what part of Florida it was. Fort Lauderdale, I think it was. No, my bad. Inglewood, Florida was the first time I did my first session S&P. The method that they used was actually a tattoo method. It kind of just looked like a shadow effect. So in the beginning, it wasn't what me and Matt are doing now. The method, it was more of a shadow. So S&P in the beginning, it went from the shaved head look. Over the years, we just advanced it to the single hair buzz look, or you can have the shaved look. So in the beginning, I did have laser. The first artist to do my head was just a regular tattoo artist. He was kind of watching what the guys in London were doing at the time. So I was behind the scenes watching how they run their business, and you could tell they were kind of just flowing with it. So they really didn't have it down on lock or nothing. It still took some years before it actually perfected, I guess. So
yeah. I mean, it started. How I always explain it, and I think it's pretty accurate, is that it really did start, at least the birth of the technique where you see it done now, the pointillism technique, 3RL. Using pigment dilution, that really did start in the UK, but was advanced by a lot of the early artists that were brought on by his hair clinic and maybe a couple other UK-based companies. But pretty quickly, I know how I got involved was that I had my treatments done. I spent time over there for a couple weeks, got to know some of the individuals, got to know the owner, the CEO, and at that time, they were actually looking to hop across the pond. And me being from New York, we kind of had that discussion of, hey, would you like to learn how to do this and introduce it to New York City and America? And I was a 22-year-old shithead and was like, fuck yeah,
I believe it took. So his hair clinic used to be called Head Style. A lot of people don't know this. Before his,
right,
it was Head
man.
Style,
Yeah, that's
Lorraine.
right.
So like I was in talks with them like before it was even his hair clinic. So Head Style was actually the first S&P company by the
Head
owner.
Styles,
Head
yeah,
Styles.
something like
Remember?
that, yeah.
Their YouTube channel is still up, so you can see a lot of their jobs back in the day. But it took them like after 2 years though, they were saying we're coming to New York, we're coming to New York, and I think after 2 years they never did that. And then they switched to his, and that's where you came in. You must have came from when
When
Ian
they were at
switched to
that
Head
switch,
Style.
yeah.
So he switched it over from Head Style to his hair clinic. And during that time, I was in Florida working with this tattoo artist, and I always said, you know what, there's something bigger here. I wanted to, because I was in Florida, my daughter's in New York, so I'm like, I gotta get out to New York. So, long story short, I hit up Ian. I said, hey, I'm doing this.
Who is Ian?
Ian Watson, the owner of his hair clinic. So
Okay.
Ian and Rambier.
Yeah, they deserve a lot of credit. You know,
Shout out Ian Rambier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Ian
Rambier. Yeah, I still have a lot of respect too. Me and Matt, no hard feelings with them. You know, there's a lot of other artists. You know, a lot of people just, you know, they created something that just kind of blew up, it's magical, and people, you know, they seen that and they said, you know what, they tried to do it on their own, but they kind of like, I believe, you know, we helped form S&P, modern day S&P actually. So
You definitely brought it to the U.S. You said you went to England. You're going down to Florida. To get yours done. Now you had a transplant. Did you get the transplant before or after S&P?
After that was when I was working out in Chicago. Dr. Yates. He offered. I did his head one day. He was one of my clients. It's Dr. Yates, and then. He said, "You want a free transplant?" I said, "Do it for free." Yeah, he did it for free. So
S&P HD.
yeah, if you guys want to see that
Barter
video,
system.
I probably had the first world's first FUE S&P combination. So you can Google that and see it on YouTube. Joey's like, I'm looking at tonight.
I'm gonna check that out.
Just don't use them pictures on this.
Did you, Matt, when you first got yours done in England, you didn't get a hair transplant, correct?
No. I mean, when I was looking into hair loss services, that was the first route I was going, and then I quickly realized, like, I'm like, I have pretty thin hair. I'm a diffuse thinner. Like, I'm just going to transplant thin hair to tough thin hair. So I came across S&P in forums. So before, like, Reddit, YouTube, all that was like hair loss help. I'm bald for whatever the hell it was, and someone must have in some thread was like, oh, they tattoo your head or check out this place, and that's how I came across his hair clinic, because they had just made some posts or advertisements in that
same way.
And so I was like, fuck it, I saved up some money and went over to the UK and got it done.
Back in them days, like, you couldn't go on YouTube. There was no Instagram. Like, it was forums. That's how we found out. And
I read a lot about this. So you guys were just like in these forums, these chat rooms, just talking. And everything was a secret back then too, right?
Oh yeah.
So you're trying to figure this shit out, and no one wants to tell you anything.
No one's trying to tell you anything. There's just not a lot of people had it.
No, but
you know,
that's true.
So not a lot of people knew about scalp micropigmentation. And didn't
I'd say when I was doing my research, like, there just wasn't a lot of clients that have had it done. It was that new that there was probably, being realistic, there probably less than like 50, 60 people at that time that probably had done it.
So you were a guinea pig.
I would say I was close to it. Yeah, for sure. People still think they come in like, I'm the guinea pig for my friends. I'm like, bro, this is 13, 14, 15 years ago and you ain't a guinea pig anymore. Like, we were guinea pigs. Yeah.
For real. Now, when you first got it done, did they do the 3-session method, or was it 1 session?
It was more, actually.
It could be more. I think they were, you know, to their credit, or at least how the system was, you know, produced for them, was to build it up over sessions. And I think they were very conservative. I mean, I look back on what was used as far as color-wise and density-wise on my head, and I go, whoa, that's like what you could expect after like a half a session. Like, it just was very light,
very loose,
very soft,
very loose.
The one thing, we can jump ahead, is that I feel like you and I probably both changed. I know I changed when I went out and built Scalp Micro USA, was the time frame between sessions. His was doing it about sometimes 5 days apart, sometimes 7. Like 7 was like they wanted to do it like 7 days apart. You remember that? And I mean, at least personally, I found that was more or less too soon to be doing your layering process. So I was like, you're at 10 days minimum, and I really like 2 weeks is kind of that sweet spot for me, like 2 weeks in between sessions. So that was a big change. But yeah, I had it like originally, I probably had 3 or 4 sessions, and to get it decent to where it needed to be.
Were you getting your whole head, or was it a density fill at that time?
I was getting my whole head. I mean, I had more hair back then.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. You said you were about 22, 23?
Yeah, I was like a diffuse thinner, so I actually, didn't have to cut as frequently as short. So my whole head was done. My hairline, everything was done. But as, what am I, 35 now? So pretty much lost it all up top. So it's all S&P now.
Back in the day, a lot of people didn't even know about S&P. Like, we couldn't even, it wasn't even on, there was no Instagram. Facebook wasn't even really a thing.
So the initial marketing aspect of
there was no marketing.
It was forums, man. Hair loss help, I'm bald, help me, whatever form. You got to dive deep into the threads. There wasn't no Reddit or
how to cure baldness.
Yeah,
I think that's how I looked it up.
Yeah,
shit like that.
Even like hair transplants like weren't a thing. It was on the forums.
Well, some of that, to be fair, I think I actually found out about S&P on a hair transplant forum.
Yeah,
and that's how I came across this company in the UK doing it back in 2010, and I was like, yeah, well, transplant's not going to work for me. I have a few bucks in my pocket. Let me go hop the pond and try this thing out.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the fate. I always just say, like, eventually I'm going to write a book. Probably not, but maybe. And it's going to be titled, I Lost My Hair and Got a Career, because I stumbled into this for this to get it done and got asked to be a part of it and help introduce it to the U.S. So it was kind of serendipitous for sure.
It's the gift and the curse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, yeah, fuck, man, I'm going bald, sucks, but hey, look at us now. We're having a good time.
My story was actually similar because I wasn't even looking for myself in them days. It was my mother. Before she passed away, she had cancer. She was going through like the chemo treatment therapy. And I was looking up, hair loss options for her. And, I'd seen hair transplants. There was some videos maybe scattered on YouTube. But like Matt, I started checking the hair loss forums. And guys out in London were talking about the MHT. And then I was like, this looks interesting. And then I was looking for somebody more local because I wasn't trying to fly to London in them days. And there was only that one small office out in Birmingham.
Yeah.
I ran into a tattoo artist in Miami or in Florida who was doing it. And, in the beginning, the technique, even every white guy that went in there walked out with the Jamie Foxx hairline. There was no like
straight line.
Everybody had a straight. First 3-4 years, it was probably like that, like the straight hairlines at least, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the first one I saw when I went to the UK after my journey and I got up to Birmingham. The first one I saw, I told you I didn't think it even looked good, but I was just so jet lagged that I was like, all right, I'll sleep on it. Slept. Woke up, got my treatment done, didn't even put up a fuss. Was like, I'm here, I'm going to do it. And thank God it turned out right. But yeah, I mean, everything has evolved so much since then. And thanks to, the early ones, the guys like us, guys like Paul, guys like Zhang, guys like that started, in 2010, 2011, and realizing, okay, we're given a training program, we're giving kind of the basic knowledge and the skill set. And like anything, the more heads you do, the more practice, the more you master an art, the more you're going to kind of create your own branch of it, your own niche of it.
So did you both train with people from his hair clinic initially, like when you started?
Initially, I learned the way I learned was from Florida, this tattoo artist in Florida. And then from there, it was Matt and Zhang. So I think you and Zhang were probably the first from the London gang that came out to California and New York.
So yes, I was there opening day for New York. Yeah. And I think Zhang headed out to Los Angeles with Aldemar. Aldemar deserves a shout out too. Yep. And so that was kind of the British, the British invasion, baby. Yeah. And so that started. Yeah. I started working out of the flagship in New York. You had Zhang, you had Aldemar, you had you that came on, and then from there they started opening clinics over the course of those next 3-4 years that we were with them, and it just developed. I mean, because it was still so young when it got to the U.S. Because again, it started in the U.K. Probably for the couple years they were doing that, and then they realized, oh shit, we're getting a lot of Americans.
A lot of traction,
let's go to the States.
So like when I was in Florida and flew over to, I remember I had a meeting with Ian, for the owner of his, and we met up in New York City one night, and he's like, I want to take a chance with you because I was already doing S&P before they came to America. So Ian's like, let's send you over to California. We'll give you a shot. So initially, I didn't have no training from his hair clinic brand. I was just seeing what they were doing, like their methods. So I took my method from learning from this tattoo artist, and then I took how the MHT method was, and they said like, we'll put you in LA. you know, if it doesn't work out, then you don't got a job. So I was like, all right.
That's pretty typical for everyone that moves to LA now.
Yeah, I literally, Matt knows this. I was living in the office for about 2 years. The first 2 years in LA, I was sleeping in a freaking corner in the office.
Wow.
So this
dedication.
This is where we now we're gonna get to the
you
hotel.
had the office. I had the whore hotel on La Cienega.
We'll get to the hotel scene.
No, I didn't partake. I didn't partake, but there was some blood on the carpets. And
So
it was rough,
I know,
but...
like, so once they had New York and LA, his started opening all of these other locations. I remember me and Matt would just travel around to like Miami, Chicago, Houston. So. And then one time, me and him were
doing procedures, just traveling around doing procedures,
opening locations and doing procedures.
And these were all for his hair clinic.
Yeah. We were like opening them up. We're like among the first artists.
Doing a lot of the press too. I remember you would get like Fox News. I'm like, oh, that fucking guy's on Fox. Like, I get ABC, and then we were doing it because it was very novel at that point. So like,
we did Miami one time together, and then. Yes. You had to practice on my head. We had a model or something.
I do. I remember.
Matt's like, so Matt's on the ABC News tattooing my head. I'm like, damn, bro, because we didn't have a model them days. So that was good. That was pretty fun.
And it was novel. So like a lot of like news stories were interested in it. A lot of press was interested in it. And so we would do a lot of that and get it known, and it was just picking up steam. And the big thing with his hair clinic, who was again the first company that probably commercialized this, thanks to
was his
us
hair
and
clinic.
In my belief,
And who was the owner, just for
Ian and Rambier, Ian Watson and Rambier.
Okay.
Yeah, and what was I gonna say? So I lost my train of thought there. Hang on.
Sorry.
With his with the first thing with them doing the press and the.
You guys were traveling around.
We're traveling. They did the press.
Opening up clinics. So you're practicing on John's head.
Yeah, and the thing with his, they had a forum. Remember the forum?
The hair loss forum.
They actually had the first true S&P forum, and it was a great place. It was a quote unquote open forum, and it really was pretty fair. It was pretty open.
The number one for S&P, like.
And so that's where people would do their research. It became a kind of destination, and that's. Over what was that, 4 or 5 years, probably up until about 2014, 2015, that's where a lot of the names, you want to call the quote unquote OGs of this, started either from there. There was a couple of other companies, some UK based that, some of the originators started from, but I'd say up until about 2014, 2015, that was kind of the crew. And then, that's when it started kind of freaking off.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I learned about it in 2015. And I was Googling, and I found it, and I saw it, and I originally saw Scalp Aesthetics. You guys remember Scalp Aesthetics? I love them or hate them, but Bryce Cleveland, I called over there. They said, I think he had a place in Rochester, New York.
Right, that's my other hometown.
My other
hometown.
York. And then I found Dan Urenberg down in DC. So I was like, I'm going down to DC. It's way easier to go down there. Decided to go down there in 2016 and get it done, and man, it really changed my life. But to that, so you guys never worked for Scalp Aesthetic. You were with his hair clinic. When did you actually start Gerow, and when did you start Scalp Micro? So what happened for you to break off?
I'm just going to stop you there for 1 second. I actually did have a brief stint with Scalp Aesthetics for like a month.
Oh, really?
My story, Matt knows how the London gang was, because if you tried to leave his hair clinic, trust me, they were gonna go after you with lawsuits just for leaving them. So we were under lock and key in the beginning. So like when I left, they put a 25-mile radius clause on me. So I had to like leave New York City, go to Bronxville, New York for almost a whole year. But during that year, I worked with the Scalp Aesthetics for about maybe 10 months, 6 to 10 months, I think it was. But then from there, I had another company, Hairline Inc. You were
Hairline Inc.?
Yeah, I owned Hairline Inc. I was the owner of Hairline Inc. and created some artists there. And then partnership didn't work out, it dissolved. Then created Gerow Hair Inc. with Eric Roberto. And
shout out to Eric.
Shout out to Eric. The rest is history. From there, Eric kind of brought the barber community into the S&P industry and here in the U.S., which was a big thing, for the S&P industry, because a lot of guys like to edge up in America. Mm-hmm. I know I was talking to Paul Clark some months ago, and he said that in London, he's never even done an edge up. He's only done soft hairlines, not one single edge up. And I said, that's I don't know if you knew about that, but that's it's pretty crazy.
They call it like the American style.
They don't do no edge up, no like them hard hairlines. They don't do them in London. It's like, and I love doing the soft natural hairlines. That's my specialty, and I believe maybe we should go to London, man. Get some heads out there.
I know.
It's definitely not. I like doing the natural hairline versus a hard hairline.
Yeah,
100%. Just as from the artist point of view.
Yeah.
And so Matt, how did you get it? Scalp Micro USA going?
Yeah. So I left. So there was a lot of great about his hair clinic, but as it started to grow, in my opinion, it grew too fast. And it's hard. It's hard. I mean, being a business owner now, I know it's hard to expand and plant your flag in a lot of cities and oversee all that. So I don't, have any certain feelings about that. But just from a personal career standpoint, I saw kind of a writing on the wall that I didn't think the ship was going to continue to float. They had great people, great practitioners, really, so to speak, and a great kind of first to market. But I don't think they were capitalizing on it. So, I stayed pretty loyal with that, but then there's a lot of different things that occurred, and I was like, hey, I'm either gonna stay on this ship and sink with it, or I built a good reputation. We got our names really well known. We were kind of really taking at least the American operation on our backs, and I said, hey, look, I think there's some things we can improve on. I want to have a little bit more say in how we do this, and do it the right way. And so I left in 2014, and I did kind of a little solo thing, and then I opened up Scalp Micro USA with one of my best friends, and he was on the marketing side, the branding side, and we opened up in early 2015. And what are we, 9 years in?
Was that Corporate Keith?
That's Corporate Keith. Yeah, shout out to my buddy Corporate Keith. He's also the co-founder with me on Follicle, so our ink and product company. But we started this 2015. We had a small space in Koreatown. Just kind of starting, not necessarily over, because I had a good head start doing this for 5 years at that point. But it's great. And now, we talked about, I got, multiple locations in the country. We do training, do speaking, all that.
So Matt was actually the first, I believe, to bounce from his hair clinic. You were like one of the first ones to actually leave ship. So I'm sitting to see if he was going to drown. I'm like, let me see what this guy does.
I was the guinea pig, I guess.
He was the guinea pig. He took the first move. I remember we were in Chicago. We had dinner one night, or in the jacuzzi in Miami. We sat in the jacuzzi talking about, you're like, I might leave. You were leaving or something. I remember that day.
Yeah, it was just at that point because we were traveling all the time.
Yeah.
And again, it is what it is. You got to do business, but I think the traveling wasn't luxurious. It wasn't fun. We were catching red eyes and 3 clients a day, and it was a lot. It was a lot without some of the upside. So I think a lot of people started feeling disenchanted. A lot of people felt like this wasn't going somewhere, and we were it's like any trend. S&P was still young.
Yeah,
it was still building. So I know you and I saw the opportunity. I think a lot of people saw an opportunity there. It's like, hey, I have a great skill set. I'm advancing this skill set, and I'm not being compensated or treated for that. And so there was a lot of that feeling. And I tend to I really do. I try to be, loyal and try to do all that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, it came to a realization that this company's probably going to sell or disband. And I don't want to miss that opportunity to create something for myself and for the industry. So I was like, you have to do it. And the non-competes, which ironically are not even in force now. They just came out, right? But the non-competes and all that. But, at the end of the day, I was like, hey, they can come after me. I love I have a passion for this. I have a route that I want to take to do this. And so, sometimes you had to take the leap. And you talked earlier about there's a couple key moments where you had a realization of what you want to do and how to do it. There's a few defining moments in your career, and that was one of them. Is just like I woke up one day and I'm just like, no. I went on literally LegalZoom, got my LLC started, and I was like looking for lease space in Manhattan. And train was in motion.
Wow.
One good thing about we traveled a lot. One positive thing I could say about all the traveling that we did is I believe for me as an artist, I was able to see clients. Say I'd be in Miami for a couple years, go from there, go to Houston for a year, 6 months, and then bounce all around the world. But I was able to see my clientele, how their treatments are settling long term over time. Seeing how the sessions, what it looked like after 3 years doing a client. So that's how I kind of developed my skills. Just traveling around all these locations, but seeing how the treatment actually settled and healed long term. And I was just looking at that as the artistic point, but with his, it's just I think I was me and Zhang were probably the last two to leave the actual
Was
company.
it bad management at his? Or was it just what was kind of forced you guys
I think
out?
over time, again, they had kudos, flowers. They had a pretty good training program. It wasn't a training program like you see now where we do.
It was like a year's training.
They
right?
had like an internal training program that was very good. They had the right techniques. They were at least advancing it the right way. But thanks to people like us and Paul and Zhang and I'm forgetting a lot of names, but Aldemar. But yeah, I think over time, like you said, you scale too quick. If I look back, if I'm being honest, I think they had a sell-off plan, a cash-out plan, and I think they were trying to execute on that, and that's not going to benefit the individual practitioner. So I think I saw that and said, hey, I don't have equity in this business. They're running us amok, and I just, I think we always just have that entrepreneurial stare, and then we built a great reputation as an artist in this industry, and I wanted to do different things within PMU and Scalp, and was just like, hey, now's the time. And I mean, we were right because they disbanded pretty quickly in the U.S. only a few years after that. So
as a matter of fact, their last after they closed down, we actually at Gerow, we took over their leads for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but unfortunately, we're getting all their mail too. So we're getting all the court letters like, oh, hey, you got a lawsuit here, you got a lawsuit here. But sorry, Ian, for putting it out there, man. But then they wind up training Bosley. So they trained the Bosley company, and then Bosley started offering SMP because Ian trained. That was their cash out. I think that was their cash out plan. That was it.
Yeah.
And then actually a couple weeks ago, Ian hit me up. They're trying to sell his hair now, just like the YouTube and their channels. But I'm like,
yeah, I was about to say, are they still in business?
Yeah, they're out of it. They're, I think Ian sells houses now, but they're trying to actually sell the websites and all that. So it's just not for us. Me personally, it's not worth
for SEO. I mean, they got a good footprint online.
They did. I always question, and that's kind of his journey. But it's not my business, so I don't want to talk too much on it. I respect a lot of what they did.
Yeah.
But I always wondered why so quick to kind of cash out, because they were the first. They had at least one of the first, and the first to really commercially do it. And they were just ahead of the curve. They created the curve, and I just never understood why.
I couldn't either. Yeah,
you had such a head start. Like they were,
and they could have just kept growing, right?
I think so. I mean, I think they had great people. I mean, if you look at some of the great artists that are out there now, or the ones that have been at least doing it 8, 10 plus years, a lot of them started or had some connection to someone that started at his hair clinic.
Exactly. Yep.
Paul Clark, Aldemar, Zhang, myself,
Chandler,
Greg Lauricella, John Chandler. Yeah, I mean,
Ian Dennis, Houston.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like these are guys that a lot. If you're doing SMP, you probably run into or know, and that was the roots.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the forum was that was the YouTube for SMP back in the days. Like anybody looking for SMP, it was me.
Because that was kind of before smartphones really took over.
Yeah.
It's just funny. I mean, the YouTube was big, and I've always liked being on YouTube. I think YouTube's a great research tool. I think now you're seeing it go more towards Reddit and other media, but
Reddit.
Yeah.
Reddit's
There's more
nowadays.
available now. There's so much available now. We could talk about how the industry changed now. But,
every year, it's always
going
going
to get into that.
It's something new every year.
So I mean, when I first learned, there was the 1 round linder, which faded very quickly, and then the 0.30 micrometer. So the 3 round liner, but it was a 0.30. And so learning that, I didn't want to use, especially in the beginning, you don't even want to use the 0.30 micrometer or on a fair skinned person when you're new, because you're going to end up with a lot of blowouts. How did you see the evolution of the needles kind of grow?
I mean, in the beginning, it was more of the one-liner, right? They were using more of the one-liners.
We were using 3RLs always, but the machines, we were using high stainless steel Curie, $4,000 power unit handpiece machines with really expensive 3RL needles. They weren't great quality. We'd run through a bunch of them in a session, and then we kind of I know mine here. I kind of went to Cheyenne eventually, and we were using 25s a lot. But
Easy
the 25s.
Easy Tab was a big
Tab.
one. What's the other?
The Bumblebee thing. What was
there was one from the UK. There was a distributor. Nouveau Couture. But the machines. So more or less, the machines have really evolved. Not necessarily evolved, but that artificial barrier between cosmetic medical micropigmentation and tattooing, that barrier got broken because they tried to, you know, they were charging PMU artists and, you know, nurses and all that they were charging double, triple the price for a machine.
Yeah.
That the tattoo machines do. So now you saw like Cheyenne finally came in, Bishop, FK Irons. They were like, no, you can use these wireless or corded tattoo machines for half the price, and they're actually better. And the needles are better. Yeah, everything was great. So I noticed that change, and yeah, the needles have continued to get a little bit more consistent, smaller diameters.
Yeah.
I believe the like in America, like not besides his hair clinic, the other companies were doing like the one-liners, like Scalp Aesthetics. They started doing the one-liners.
That's what was on my head.
Yeah, that was on yours. Yeah, like, but me and Matt, we were doing the 3-point micro needles. That was our main thing to do. But I've actually had clients from 8 years to 13 years coming back.
Yeah,
and some of them are actually, they look pretty good.
I've started getting these guys that from his. I actually give his hair clinic guys discounts on their touch-ups. So they call in because I'll be like,
hey, they stayed with you.
Yeah, well, they found us, you know, because they'll be like, hey, I went to try to call his and I don't see anything, but I saw your face, or I'm sure John gets the same. So, yeah, a lot of it holds very well. Just, you know, we also advanced, like the needles are better, the ink's better.
Ink's
definitely better.
The ink back in the day was the biggest secret too.
Are you gonna tell them?
I'll tell him.
Let me tell him. Well,
actually,
go ahead.
Yeah, don't say it, right? Now let's keep it.
We could cut it.
I wouldn't say exactly what it is, but they were using. They were using. I don't know if we should say it just because on there, because I don't want any like old.
You know what's great?
Iulo
and follicle are great.
Hey,
so let's pull it out. Those are the great.
So the great ones. Benefit. I know you have your own ink line. We produce our own ink line. Make sure that we know the actual ingredients that are going into it. Make sure that it's healing properly. That it's true. At least in our case, true carbon black and not has additives and all that shit. So
the ink back in the day, let's just say this, you guys, is
this the plug time?
The ink was very watery too. Like it was like watery almost.
Well, they diluted very heavily.
Yeah, very diluted.
Yeah.
So both of you have your own inks now. So you both have successful shops. You have your own inks. Let's see what we got.
Looks like protein powder, but
it really does.
It does, right?
I love it.
But you open it up, it'll make you S&P strong, baby.
All right. Yep. We got browns. We got black.
How'd you come up with the name? Well, Incube. The Jade is what
Jade
made you
was
pick
like
Jade
a collaborated thing together. We all kind of voted on it. But before Gerow Hair Inc., we actually thought about naming our business Incube. That was going to be before Gerow was Incube, and Eric said, "Just use your name, man. It's good for Google." So
it's funny because I get people that are like, we probably get a lot of consultations that sometimes they'll choose between us because we're the big guys in New York. So, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm checking you out. I'm checking out Gerow Inc. I'm like, Gerow, but I'm like, yeah, it does sound like growing.
It's growing.
I don't know if you're promising that you're growing hair, but yeah.
I say, the ink makes it grow. Some guys believe it grows, but these are we got the 04s, 05s, 6, 8s, and 10s in here, and.
So check out Jade Needles. We got
Needles.
InQ Brown.
I'm taking some of these needles home.
I got a little bag for you right here.
I got some stuff for you too, but
InQ Modifier. Is that what that little orange dot?
Yeah, this is the neutralizer. We got the black and we got the brown. I know Matt was the first to bring the brown on the market.
Yes,
which I used the brown before he brought it too, but we never sold it.
Yeah,
though,
and a little inside baseball. We got a little some big things coming up with the ink. Some cool stuff that we're doing. So
nice. You can't reveal anything.
No, not yet. But I mean, it's same trusted formulations, but there's some cool stuff. And
he's with the biggest competition. He ain't gonna reveal it.
Yeah. Well, no,
I'm just joking.
But yeah, I mean,
they're both fantastic inks, people.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You want to use something that you trust, that you understand the ingredients, you understand the people behind it.
Yeah.
That's the key.
That's it.
And I'm definitely going to try your needles because I love trying new needles. And, we talked about needles earlier. Like, I don't know if you felt the same. I mean, now you have your own needle brand. I fall in and out of love with so many brands of needles and different types of needles. Like, I'll and I've been using FYT. So shout out FYT. I love those guys. I know you're friends with them too. Great needles. And I will, those are what I'm using majority. I've used Bishop as well. But even within like the needle groups, I'll be like, hey, I'm loving the 0.18s. And then like, I'll get a string of 0.18s. I'm like, it's fucking spinning.
Yeah.
It's splitting. My God. Let me try this. And then I'll fall in love with the emeralds. I'll fall in love with the hard lines. And that's been the case since I've honestly been doing S&P.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Why does that happen? Why does every box seem to have, 3 to 4 duds?
Yeah, it's got to
Even
be
more than that, some of them.
It's got to be in a.
And I'm like, is it fucking my machine? You know, I get all pissed off.
We gotta go to
sometimes.
China and find out why.
what's going on.
What's
with
going
it.
on in China?
But I know what you mean. There really are some duds in there, and you get a little frustrated. But yeah, just got
So this, check it out. So we did a test one day. We did a live video. I was able to get 400 dot impressions off of one single dip with this needle.
Who counted?
We caught it together online.
Okay.
I'll show you. I'll send you the link.
Funny.
But I personally like the 04 and 06. 04 for hairline and then 06 for the density. But
Yeah, I'm similar with that now.
what's nice about these needles, what I like about them is you only need one for the whole head. You don't have the brands, they're nice for the first 5 minutes, but after 5-10 minutes, they kind of like dead out. But these, they last throughout the whole treatment.
I like them. I change the needle. I always do back of the head needle, hairline new needle on top. I'm always using at least 3 minimum. But yes, I can keep going, but I choose to get another one. I like to
Joey,
spend
you're
money.
killing it, man.
It's better for you. It's better for you. You
Yeah,
move some
spend
quicker.
some money. Was it difficult, John, finding the needle and getting that started?
Yeah, we took a lot of time, this testing. We know he had even scientists come in, and we kind of like analyzed the needles, and we finally all agreed on it. It was like a whole team effort, we had Juan, Eric, myself.
Shout out to Juan and Eric.
Yeah, and we all built it together, and we got the cleanser too. We got the butter. Here's the butter. I got everything for you, Matt. We're gonna give Matt all this.
Ooh, what do I do with the butter?
What about that?
We're gonna get to the bed story later.
We gotta clarify that. We definitely have to clarify that.
You
Dattie will go super viral.
You're coming over tomorrow, right?
I know.
I got you tomorrow. Joey's coming for a touch.
He always hooked me up. So, any SMP artists out there, if you're listening to this, I highly recommend Follicule and InkU products. Go check them out. Order it. Talk about the Dattie podcast. Maybe they'll give you a discount. Maybe they won't. Either way, great products.
Make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about. So now you both have successful shops. I want to talk because I talk to a lot of artists, and a lot of them talk about the training. There's this whole controversy about the 3-day training. What do you think? Let me just hear your thoughts. What do you think on the 3-day training? Is it legit? What do you think? Is it a starter course? Can they just go and start the business? Or is it just, hey, here are the fundamentals. Here's how you do scalp micropigmentation. Now go practice and then start your business. Or should they just go right into it?
Here's how I feel about it. And, we run technically 4 days. The first day is done at home, theory-wise, and then 3 days in the clinic. In an ideal world, obviously, there would be more formal apprenticeships. There'd be multi-week or month type training programs, and maybe that is realistic for some. Here's how I've always looked at it, and I think John, the same, like the people that have been doing this a long time, that have a lot of knowledge, that have a lot of skill, a lot of mastery of this, want to be able to train, especially because there's a lot of people out there that shouldn't be training, right? So exactly. It's like, and they're doing it. They're going to do it whether I say we'll whine about it, we cry about it, or not. Mm-hmm. So I look at it as like, hey, I need to be involved in that. I want to be involved in it. And so for me, it's also a balance. What people don't realize, they should be doing, that's not enough. It's not enough. Well, we advertise it a certain way, say, hey, this is, a master's foundation. You're going to get the skill set that gives you the foundation that you're going to continue to be able to practice. And yeah, you can start doing models and work on that, and then we can offer additional support. But here's what a lot of people don't understand is that we also run clinics. I'm also in treatment day in and day out. You're running a business, you're traveling. It's a time management thing. I can't, or at least as I'm set up now, do a 3-week, 4-week training in person. That's just not how we're set up. Yeah. So you want to train with the best artists, but then it's hard to expect that the best artists are going to be able to give, at least in my opinion, months and months or weeks and weeks of one-on-one work. I do think there's a possibility of it. I have played around with the idea of offering like an apprenticeship or a true like one-on-one, and I think there's value to that. But I think for the person that's looking into it, they're probably running a business. They're maybe already doing PMU, or they're a barber. They have a family to feed. I don't know how many people can spend a month or two in New York dedicating solely to this. So I offer, the foundation program. We also do master courses. I have online stuff for those that have taken courses. I try to give as much learning out there as my time allows, and that makes it reasonable for someone else. Because if I don't, fine, maybe they don't miss me, maybe they don't miss you, but I think they will, because we have the actual knowledge to train someone, whereas they're gonna resort to the cheap, and a lot of them are, unfortunately, the cheap, quick 2-day, 3-day, but those are the 2-3 days that you don't want to be taking because you're not getting any knowledge out of it. So that's my long-winded answer on this.
John?
He pretty much answered that. I mean, like back when me and Matt, we started, like it was like a year's program, 6 months, in Birmingham, and 6 months.
But I was on heads pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean,
some guys were holding a pot for 6 months, like guy like Danny, like literally the training would be, I don't want to say the name, but this is how we trained in the beginning. Like after 6 months, the student would stand next to us as I'm working on a client. As the client's got his head down, right? You already know.
No, hold the pot.
Hold the pot. So I go like this. So I would dip it. I'd be like, I would hand the gun to the student.
Oh, you were holding the pot. I mean, it was actually, it was great because you're watching.
You're watching and learning.
But you're also, I don't have to go back and dip.
Well, some guys, I mean, the guys that were complaining about holding the pot are the ones that didn't last. I can tell you that.
He's talking about holding the dip cup, people.
Yeah, there's a cup with the ink's inside,
yeah.
So we would actually have the student stand next to us and shadow us, and then maybe the last 20 minutes of the treatment, I would sneak the gun to the student. I'd like, come over here real quick and put a few dots in his head. And that was a training back in the day. There was no like, oh, here's a model. He's happy you're working on him. No, it was like, we actually would have to like almost deceive the actual client and sneak the gun to him. That's how the training was back when, and especially when I was in New York doing it.
Yeah, it wasn't structured. I think we built on a good way, and I know you have a team, and I've had people around me that like structured this better.
Yeah,
I think model time is key. I know I'm pride ourselves on like, yeah, it's a 4-day training, and you might look at that as you can't. I always say, actually, one of the first things I say in my training is, this is a 4-day master's foundation training. There's no master in 4 days. This is going to give you a great foundation, a great head start to build on that.
Yes.
But it took, let me tell you, I think I've been getting better still. I think the last month, I'm taking some photos of photos. I'm like, my shit is good. And I think I've been good for a long time.
If you're not trying to get better, what are you doing?
Like still learning. 13 years doing this.
I feel like I got better in the last year than I have before.
Yeah.
I've been using the one-liners on the hairlines now. Not the whole head, like I'll use like the 3 points in the back, but I'm doing like tiny little slits in like them soft edges, and it's actually holding. Like there's a method to it. So I'm excited to do a training next month with Helen. So I'm going to actually do my first.
Shout out to Helen.
Shout out Helen.
Hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid.
Let's go. She's crushing the female game.
She's killing it. She's killing it. The density out there. But using the one-liner and the hairline is actually, a lot of people are against the one-liner, but if done properly, you can actually master that technique, but it's very dangerous. Like, I don't recommend, even skilled artists, it's a dangerous technique to use because you can blow out easily.
So my theory on that, and I played around with it too, is I believe, especially now because the cartridges, the gauges have gotten so tiny, that anything, at least for me, anything that you can do with that, or you think you can do with the one, you should be able to do, or not should be, but I can do with a like 0.15.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I hear you. Like, I think it's give or take. It's like if you can master that one for the hairline, it's really, you're nitpicking on the dots. Like,
exactly.
Super tiny gauges.
Super tiny, yeah.
It was the individuals, and there's a few online that, would blast people for using it 3RL, even though that's the widely used, most artists are using that, as they should. I mean, I think it's always great to kind of try to innovate, but there's a reason that the 3RL is the most widely used needle, and it's because it's the safest. It actually leaves retention. It doesn't damage the skin, and it gets the job done. So I had to fight back a little bit on that, because there's a lot of, I get clients, oh, you don't use the 1RL, you don't use the 1RL. I'm like, anything that you think should be doing with the 1RL, I'm going to be doing with the 3RL, and I'm going to be doing it safer and get you a job that doesn't take 6-7 sessions, but takes 2, 3, 4 sessions. So
that's true. The 1RL, the 1RL, if you just do it for the whole scalp, it turns into like...
I had it on my head the first 2 years.
Yeah, so you know how it
fades.
It fades away
very
fast.
quickly.
Yeah, it's a fast fade.
Looks good for a month or two, but it fades very quickly. Yeah. You were the first one to use a bigger needle on my head.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you've seen the difference.
Danny used, and that's what we were doing. But there's only 2 sizes: the 1RL and then the .30.
Exactly.
He didn't have the .25, not even the Cheyenne. I want to go back to what you said for the training. training, Matt, because I've thought a lot about this, and it's like you actually, in order to have an apprentice, you basically have to have a lot of money and buy your time, because you could be working on other projects making more money, right?
Yeah.
So unless a person has a bunch of money and they're like, hey, man, I'm going to give you 30 grand to just shadow you for, I don't know, 2 weeks, a month, otherwise, you got bills to pay. You got 5 shops. You got a lot of shit going on. How else are, you're going to get that done? And to me, it's like you learn the skill, you go home, you practice on your friends, mountains, all that sort of thing. But then the other half is actual running the fucking business. You have to start a business, market. That's the whole nother, sector of scalp micropigmentation. I think people think, hey, I'm going to become a great artist or a mediocre artist, and I'm going to make a bunch of money. But in reality, you can, but you also have to do the business end. And you got to be really smart with business. You got to be really smart.
Especially now, I think, it's still a great business to get into. It's still a great skill. I think it's still a great skill to have, for sure. And there's still a lot of opportunity, but especially now, it isn't 2015, 16, 17, where you can maybe be the only fish in the city or no one's really aware of it. It's a lot of competition. It's starting to get saturated. I talked to friends in the UK, man. I mean, I'm a geography guy. I look at that. I'm like, UK at base level is an island, and it's pretty tight. It's a lot of population, but it's tight, and there's a lot of practitioners.
And they're good. There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, UK's great, man. But like, it's that we're starting to hit saturation in some markets, and so if you're going to get into this, you need to also have a business plan or have a way of you're going to get clientele, and it doesn't have to be a full-time thing. Like I tell a lot of my students, like, this could be a great, I hate using the word side hustle, but it could be a great little side hustle that you develop, that you do some clients, or maybe you have a PMU business or a barber business and you want to just add this. I think that's a fantastic thing. You don't have to necessarily go and build multiple scalp clinics like we did. We were good on the right timing on that, but yeah, I think you need to also know, and we try to put some of that in our course. We have, Keith that does a lot of the marketing and branding for that, and try to get them set up with some of the easy things, just setting up an LLC, getting insurance, stuff like that.
You guys actually will talk to them about that?
Yeah, we'll do a brief on that, and we have some documents on that. But that's a big part of it. It's like you have a lot to learn, because you have to learn the skill and do the skill well, and you also need to make sure that you have a good business plan so that you stay in business.
Yeah, like our online training, we always recommend the students to go through our whole training course. We have tests after they finish it. So once they complete the online, then they come in for like the 3-day class. But we always say, give it 6 months to a year before you actually, go out there and actually create a business doing it. Just don't take the training. I've had students, literally, as soon as they get their certificate, they're building a website the next day, and I've had a student literally copy and paste my website on their own website, and my name is still in there. So it's like,
might help you.
It might help a keyword search, but I agree with Matt on that. It's just even with apprenticeship, you can't. It's just not logical right now. Eric, my partner, when I trained him, it's like maybe for the first 6 to 8 months, he would just watch me. He wasn't even doing it. After 8 or 10 months, I would hand him the gun and I would do the hairline, and he would just start completing the rest of the job. So he didn't start working it for a whole year until he was ready. But a lot of people don't think like that, and but you can see quality of work out there, and I believe the future of S&P, a lot of guys are looking at the quality. They want to see, okay, what separates your work from that work? It's this. Personality, being who you are. I believe a lot of people could see through all that. The fancy chains and the watches. People want it. They want to see are you going to?
They're selling a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. They're selling a lifestyle, like Instagram lifestyle. But a lot of clients.
And they work for it.
It works. It works for some people.
Yeah. I think too, what you're getting at is that also the client, the customer, is much more. In many cases, sometimes not, but is much more educated and kind of sees good work. As much as there's bad work out there, the good work is very good, and so the quality, the expectation, the benchmark has been raised, which I think is great. Which I think is great for the people that came, after John and I, and that are pushing it. And I look at other artists, I look at Tony's great. There's some great artists that I'm like, oh, that's a good way
Tony
of doing it. Yay.
Tony,
Italiano.
love that guy, man. So
Italiano.
I spoke with Paul recently, and he said that in London, nobody's charging over $2,000 now. I swear to God. And back in our day, it was 30 pounds. Yeah. $3,500.
Quid.
Yeah, it was $3,500 for like a Norwood 7 back in the day. Now it's the prices are dropping, you guys.
Dude, I paid $3,000 for a density fill.
Yeah.
In 2016, bro.
And that's like the high end 2000 on high
Well,
end.
we
for
run
3,700.
into that. I mean, look, it's just any industry, right? Like as it becomes commoditized, price pressure happens. But I've always tried to stay within the market and what makes sense. But we know that we have an elevated work. You have to pay for experience and expertise and safety, and we set our price. I've always thought fair. I don't think we're even the highest out there, but there's a difference between going to a guy that just learned it and is kind of figuring it out in your head, and someone that's seen every skin, every skin condition, every hair loss pattern, every skin type, and just you do this and your hand, like my hand starts shaking. It's just like that muscle memory. What, thousands and thousands of hours doing this, just like anything, just like a regular tattoo, just like a really good freaking haircut, just like a nice suit, like you're gonna pay up for quality. So.
Yeah, it's quality.
Yeah.
One of the ways that I've talked to people about like an SMP school, but how would we do that? We'd have to fund it ourselves, and I don't think that's going to happen. But the only way I could see that happening to have true apprenticeship would be if we accepted insurance. If we could somehow band together SMP artists, if we could somehow, I talked to Jade Hernandez, she accepts insurance for the areola tattoo, which I've even talked to insurance companies. I said, what if a guy is so sad, depressed, he's thinking about killing himself because he's balding? Because there are people who literally hide under their hat. You guys know how it is. And they're very depressed and they don't know what to do. Scalp Micropigmentation to help them. If we could get the insurance company to cover this, game changer for everybody.
Yeah.
For everybody.
I think
That's true.
I am so for it. I think there's a lot that we can do to really legitimize the industry a bit more, and I think there's some things that are in the works that are trying to do
Oversight
this.
committee.
We
need an oversight.
Yeah,
committee. At least in the U.S. We can't control the rest of the world.
Yeah, or just like there's what's the ISHRS for hair transplant, hair surgeries.
Yeah.
There's committees, there's confederations, but I think the problem with this is a lot of people, if outside of maybe like mental illness, it's cosmetic in nature, so a lot of insurances don't cover that.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's exactly the reason that they give.
Where there's a will, there's a way. We've talked with, the Alopecia Foundation. They won't even legitimize. We wanted to be at one of their trade shows. We wanted to donate. We wanted to offer, free services. They won't even back it because of some, we can't back any type of cosmetic, dangerous, risky procedure in there. Yeah. And then I go and I'm having my morning smoothie and I see a freaking, I think it's Merck or Pfizer ad for some alopecia treatment, which I don't know too much on it, but I think it was like a 40% success rate with a list of side effects. It was,
and you could do an SMP treatment right next to the person taking the medicine for months. Yeah. Say, hey, I'll give you what works better. What works better? Yeah. And if we could prove that,
But that's the battle you're fighting still is against these industries that are set in their ways that it's like any other industry. I mean, the pharmaceutical industry is fighting it. They're still pushing Propecia, Rogaine, all that stuff. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, it can work for people. It's a great outlet, but obviously SMP is a great outlet for many too, and we're living proof of that. So,
yeah.
I know in New York here, I'm working with the American Barber Institute, and they got this licensing now for SMP trainers. So this is kind of like one of the first, you could say, a regulation for the SMP world as a whole. Marv is doing it out in Los Angeles or Vegas. So it's actually it's by the New York State, but it's for like if you're part of like a schooling system. Mm-hmm. Like they're not giving it to just like regular SMP artists right now. So I'm involved with this with the American Barber Institute right now. I'll talk to you more about it after.
Yeah.
But something.
Yeah, we were looking at New York State too to figure out something, but specific to New York State. But that's good.
Good
that's
start.
That's the right direction.
Great.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's one of the beginning things right there.
If enough people talk, I was really hoping, when the Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, the whole alopecia thing, I was hoping, hey, maybe she's going to get SMP and talk about it. Man, I was praying for it. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Because there's so much attention on her. Doesn't seem like it happened, though.
Nothing happened on that one.
No. You fuck it up, Will Smith comes
Will
up and slaps you.
Maybe he slapped the top of her head and it came off. I don't know. You never know.
I want to go back to kind of a serious topic right now for, so I started in like 2018 fucking around, making some sales. Then I really 2019 made sales. So I kept making more and more money, and we're not going to talk numbers, but more 2019, 20, 21.
Why can't we talk numbers?
But then,
Tell us, Joey.
And then in 2022, I saw a decline. 2023, decline. 2024, slight decline. Some of my months will match it or maybe a little better, but overall, the sales seem to be down. And all the artists I talk to, sales are down. Some of them have to go back to getting a regular job or whatever. I know both of you are well established. You have your companies. I think you probably are very consistent. But have you seen that with other people in the industry? And why do you think that's happening? Is it the economy? Is it competition? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody wants to know this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful that again we've been at it a while, so we have a little bit of a higher floor to fall back on. And thank God we're still doing very well. But notice the same thing, and I know you probably haven't. And I think it's a mix of like you're seeing a lot of pricing pressure, you're seeing a lot of delayed buying. And I think it's for all the reasons we say. I think you have kind of a perfect storm. I think you're hitting a bit of a saturation point. There's a lot more availability of it, even if it's not great availability. There's more practitioners, so there's more options. You don't have to. People aren't going to travel as far to get it done.
For sure.
I think you have the economy, and also people not being able to willingly just spend with their disposable income on this. And I think that's it. I also think, believe it or not, and you tell me, I do think transplants made a bit of a comeback. I know early on it was like nobody.
They got a little better.
They got better, and then people go to Turkey and all that. But like when we first started, like
it wasn't a thing.
It was a thing that they were getting away from. Like we were getting a lot of old FUT scars and like guys that had it done by Bosley and years ago, and it was like I'm not doing that. And now I'm seeing, and to its credit, it can work, and we're doing a lot of combos. Kind of like what you rock, like the cover the FUEs added, and I think it can work great. But yeah, I think you see a bit of that, and I don't think that's necessarily a lost client, but I think it's a delayed client because I do think, unfortunately, hand transplants can only do so much, so they might be coming around the corner after that starts. There's one thing I tell, like you probably tell the consults too, is a hair transplant doesn't grow hair into the crown region, so you can put hair in the front all day, but back here you're still gonna be bald. So is that right? It doesn't grow in the crown. Yeah, they could try to put hair in this crown, but it won't grow. So a lot of clients, they'll turn to S&P to fill in that lost density. So that's like a little card you can use if you guys are doing consults to like persuade them to maybe do both.
I talk shit on hair transplants. I mean, I've seen a lot of good ones, but
I actually posted a video. I posted a video on Instagram a few weeks ago. I got like 17 million views. But I accidentally pissed off a lot of people in Turkey. I didn't mean to, man.
Shout out to Turkey.
John can't go to Istanbul.
Yeah, I can't. They don't want me in Turkey right now because I accidentally like put a video of a scar, and it says when you tell your clients not to go to Turkey, but I didn't mean to say it like that. So now
some of them are good.
I mean, everybody's attacking me from Turkey now, but
leave John alone.
Leave me alone.
He's
bad press. It's all good.
It's all good.
Have you guys ever considered partnering with a Bosley or a hair transplant clinic just to, hey, you did your scar, a year later we'll do the camouflage?
I work with, probably Matt does too. I work with like 3 or 4 doctors here in Manhattan.
Nice.
They send us clients, Dr. Gary, Bernstein.
Shout out to Dr. Gary. Love his videos.
Yeah, so that was a great video. He's great on YouTube.
Yeah,
big one. Yeah, we have a couple of referrals that like we'll get a lot of referral partnerships. True and Dorn have been great, and there's a gentleman in Florida we use, but yeah, it's good to have it, and they're open to it, and they talk to their clients about the scarring and about the lack, how much density can you actually add, and how S&P can help with that. I actually think they can be great combos. Surgery is not for me. I think there's a lot of downsides to it. I think. I'll be honest. I looked at like how you did it, and I was like, you know what? I have some pretty thick hair right in the back. Let me do it. Yeah. My worry has always been, because I've seen it, is not necessarily the FUE scarring in the back. It's the recipient area. Sometimes what that does to the skin. Grittiness. The lumpiness, the pillow, whatever you want to call it, like redness. And I have pretty sensitive ass skin anyway. So I was like, I'm like, they're going to put this in and then I'm going to get like bumps and
rigidness. Yes.
Yeah. And so I was always afraid about the recipient area. And that's why I haven't done it. And that's, leave the scar
tissue. It is scary for a lot of guys, especially if they skin shaven or if they keep it really low. You have that rigidness in the scalp. So it's like, it just turns into callus in the front.
Yeah. And I know I would be the one to do it. So mine would happen. So stick away from it.
What do you think about? Have you seen that video of the guy? He's got the SMP needle or machine. It's like rolling, so like he's going like this.
Oh
and it's
my
like
god! The track, the train tracks. Yeah.
Train track,
What do you think of it?
lawnmower.
It's a bit new for me, dog.
Yeah, not into that.
Is it hard now? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think they're going to come out and then? I mean, because AI and robots, I mean, they're advancing in all the industries, right? ChatGPT, all that shit. Do you think they're going to come out with like a little helmet?
Bro, that's been my idea. I'm gonna kick myself when it is, but that's been my idea since probably I don't know if you have the same one, but I'm claiming it right now. I have that idea. But
would it work?
that's the problem. I think it's a little out of my scope, and there's some battles I want to fight, and that's not one. Although it's you have the same. Everyone has the same idea, right? You put like the little data in, it measures your head, and then
they got a tattoo machine that can draw a perfect circle now, so anything's possible.
Yeah.
We would just have to buy them.
That's what I'm saying,
We'd
man.
have to
You
buy it
you just buy it. You know, you save some cash like Apple, and then you deploy it when you need to.
and crank them out.
I think the artistic touch is something you can't buy.
Yeah.
Like you can't like replace that, especially in this world.
And I enjoy talking to my people, right? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys have deep conversations with. I mean, you work on so many people. You really get to learn a lot about human beings.
Yeah.
When you sit there 3-4 hours one-on-one for different sessions, you just learn a lot.
Oh, it's the best. Some of my clients have become friends. A lot of my clients have become friends that actually work with me for the company. So, and it's great. It's a great network. I mean, you're the king of networking, man. I mean, this kid, he rubs elbows.
I know
with
some
everyone.
of the people.
Wait till you see what I got this week coming in.
Oh Jesus!
She hosted the Met Gala yesterday. She's one of the hosts. The main host. So
research on that. Who's
she's
that?
called man. She's bringing one of her family members, but she's doing a video. But
Oh, that's great. That would be great.
Yeah.
I think anybody who gets big publicity, some people will be hating. I think it's great. It just brings more awareness to the industry.
100%.
Because we're still not mainstream. We're still not mainstream.
I know Matt's a sports guy. He likes them sports, the basketball. And
We've done a
football.
few. I have a comedic actor I go and visit and do, but
We
At
had
like his house.
Kenny
But you've
Smith.
always been. I'm not name dropping,
Okay.
but you always have been better at somehow avoiding the NDAs and getting them speaking about it. I have not been able to master that. Not that I have a good relationship with them, but a lot of them are just they're either not great spokespeople because they were more scar camouflage and stuff, or they're too big. They're not gonna.
I just trick him. I'll be like, I just need a picture for my records
It
here.
is
Let me
guy.
take a little video.
He's like the
picture
pizza
with
shop
them.
you go to,
Yeah.
and you see everyone that's ate pizza at the place. Everyone that's at S&P there.
Yeah. We had Kenny Smith that came through. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not. I saw his
is
hairline
he
the other
Kenny?
day on
Oh,
TV.
they whenever there's something going
Darren
on,
Williams.
when there's a
D. Williams. Yeah.
jobs going on, I see it in the comments. It looked like that's Kenny Smith got SMP. I see it randomly on Instagram all the time. People talk about Kenny Smith's SMP.
Well,
Love
Nick's
it.
doing what they're doing. He's
His looks
fun as
great.
ever, yeah.
His looks great. Good for him. What advice would you give other existing SMP artists that want to expand, make a second location? What were some of the mistakes that you kind of made and learned and wish you didn't do?
So with us with that Gerow, I mean he's got you don't really run a franchise, but we kind of some of our locations are owned by Gerow, but then some are franchised. I think the main thing for anybody that's trying to expand is to have a plan. You really need to have everything structured before you just go buy a place, put everything in there. Have a structured plan, because if things ain't planned out, then you're gonna wind up missing things that you wish you did, that you didn't miss. So, we got Houston, which is Chris. He's running it. That's part of
Shout out to
Gerow.
Chris
DR,
Lopez.
Chris Lopez. We got Dominican Republic. We own that one. But then we got the Miami, San Fran, and them are more franchised out there. So
Right.
it's
Shout to Chuck A.
Shake, Majestic.
Yeah.
But it's more just having a plan, you guys. Just don't say, I'm gonna open here, I'm gonna open all these locations, and then it can crash. So always, have a plan. That's my advice.
Yeah, I kind of piggyback that. I think, first, don't assume what works in one location is necessarily going to work in the other. At the same time, make sure you have a good system. Crawl before you run. I think that was a big problem with, we talked about his earlier on, is that they had great systems, but I think they didn't have the personnel, and they expanded too quickly. They were too quick to open, and that's gonna, too fast to scale. Is worse than actually not scaling at all, right? So, make sure that you have your CRM, your software, you're doing good work, you got a good review base, you have some media content already out there, and that you go in and you do some analytics also, like what's the search traffic there? How much traffic is coming from that area? What is the demand in that area? We look at all those things, and the biggest thing is the personnel, the artists, the people. I've been very selective, and it's been kind of more of what presents itself rather than me actively searching. I've never been good at actually like doing a casting call for it or like Indeed. It's always been like a relationship based thing of, oh, this person took our training. They got great passion. They're talented. They live in this area, and this might be a give. Or, hey, they have a lot of passion. They want to learn. They want to maybe apprentice. We've had some internal apprenticeship stuff go on, and that's how these have been placed. So like Greg, I knew Greg forever, and he wanted to move out to Texas. That made sense. My Derek out in LA. Shout out D Money.
Jacked.
I mean,
I want to look like Derek.
I mean, he's a
dude. He's fucking.
You gotta work like Derek, man. Dude, he's up every beast. Morning. Gold's Gym. He's a mayor over there. Yeah. But he was a client. Shot the shit. Great guy, Jersey boy. We were friends for a bit, and when we were going out there to look at locations, he helped give me a tour, and I was like, he was kind of transitioning out of his job, and I was like, hey man, like you're a perfect fit. A little key, and this doesn't have to be the case. It could be for female, male, but like for me. Cool, male-looking guy, rocks the treatment well, has passion, wants to learn it. That's been, but the people is the hardest part because that's the one you got to trust. One, they're going to do good work, and they're going to hustle. Yeah, because you're not on site every day. So yeah.
Is that how you handle it? Like, do you? I mean, you don't manage them, but do they have to report to you? Do you guys have like Zoom calls?
Yeah, we try to stay, open dialogue communication because all our clinics are company owned, and then we have our managing director in those clinics that do the treatments, consultations, the budgeting, stuff like that, content. But we'll kind of pilot what we need to pilot, and then we'll introduce it to all those clinics. But it's tight. I don't have, I have we have multiple clinics, but the family itself is tight. It's not too big, and I like it that way. I don't know about you if you want to give up me serious, but I'm not looking to necessarily. I shouldn't competitive advantage, but I'm not looking to necessarily grow many more clinics. I want to grow within those clinics and continue to innovate and build within the SMP. Yeah.
There's days I look back on and I'm thinking, man, I feel like sometimes I was being in like a little room just doing little.
Do you remember which was just like you kind of like doing your thing,
just doing it? Yeah, you remember some days?
It's weird. I wouldn't trade it, but there's sometimes where it's like nice to kind of like
stressed. I'm sure you guys are stressed.
It's a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot. I mean, I'm not. It's love it. And again, I love the people. We talk like all my team has been with me. We haven't really had anybody leave. And I think that's because we've created a good culture. We're fair. We pay well. We give you a lot of autonomy, but. It was nice to kind of have your own schedule, go in, do your heads, to shoot some content, go home, and not have to worry about all the
business side of it.
Shit of it. Yeah.
Let's get to the story with me and him sharing the bed.
Oh man.
So going back to like the business part, with from the London company, is this like a lot of things, when you expanded so fast, it's just like little things were missed. So like me and him were out in Houston together and. Something happened where a hotel like.
Well, let me tell. So
tell.
Yeah, so John was running or working out of the Houston clinic, and like I was telling you before, like they would, you'd catch a red eye from New York. The funny part about that, okay, so that story, I'm supposed to be in Houston to do a Fox News thing with him, and we were doing kind of like media, and they find me out after like a 3 client session from New York. I land in Houston at like 11 o'clock at night, and go to the hotel where I'm supposed to go, and there's no record of me having a reservation. So the company didn't make the reservation. They have no rooms. The nearest room they have is like 30 miles apart. It's like 1 a.m. and I have to be up at like 7 to look like at least halfway decent on camera for the news segment we're doing.
And there's a convention going on.
Yeah, it was massive. And there's conventions. There's no rooms. He had a room because he was down there for a bit. I called John, and this is the guy he is, and that's why he's an amazing dude. It was just like, I'm going to sleep on the couch. They wouldn't even let me. I tried to sleep on the couch in the lobby. They're like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, okay, I'm fucked. So I called John, and he was at another hotel. He's like, hey, man, like, come on over, bro. I have a, I don't know if it was a king or queen. Was it a king or queen?
I think a queen.
A little tiny. We're not that big, guys.
It was a king, maybe.
But yeah, I mean, we obviously knew each other and hung out, but like, we never slept together before. Yeah. But like, things like that. We shared the bed, put a pillow between us, but we woke up, and then we were on TV doing it the next day. And, there was a lot of things like that, like just a crazy schedule. But so
I love that.
So
I love
if
that.
you didn't know, John and I do get along. We love each other, even though we're in New York.
Yeah.
We don't see each other as much as we should. And we have shared a bed before.
We shared a bed, you guys. You guys didn't know that.
There you go. Breaking on Dattie.
Breaking.
Yeah,
TMZ,
buddy.
report that.
Did you ever think that SMP would blow up the way it is now? That, you know, back when you first started, when you were at his hair clinic, did you see how it would become today?
I personally did. I thought, like, back in the day, like, I've seen the vision, like, even before his, like, when I started doing the SMP, I kind of, like, was going to barbershops, telling them about this thing, and back in them days, nobody wanted a partner. Everybody didn't, because they didn't know about it. A lot of people thought it was crazy. They're like, oh, that's not going to work. And even hair transplant doctors, Matt knows, like, in the forums, all the doctors, they actually talked down about SMP. Remember that?
Yeah, it was there was a lot of hate.
A lot of hate with SMP in the
There
beginning.
still is on the troll. You see the trolls on the socials, but yeah, even more so back then.
Back then, it was like, so, you know, looking for people to kind of partner with me, it wasn't something like, they just didn't believe in it. So I always felt the vision. I was like, this is a future, it's just an instant cure. You know, I treated my mom, I did a session on her hair before she passed away.
Amazing.
And that's how I kind of got the whole, the push to do it. Then I wind up having my own head done. And that was just like, I seen it. Like, this is like a fountain of youth for men. Okay. And that's why I sacrificed a lot. You know, my daughter lives upstate. You know, she's like 7-8 hours away. So I sacrificed a lot of my life just being out here helping other people. So I felt like I believe in it, man.
Love that.
And then
Thanks.
that showed from the start. And I always thought it was, you know, we live it. I have it on my head. I know what it's like. Yeah. And so I love what it's become. There's some things I dislike, but I try to like just keep the positive side of it, of how many good artists there are now in it, how many people like yourself that are trying to spread the word of it, how most of the OGs are still doing it and doing it well.
Here,
so, yeah. So, I mean, it's been great, man. I could never see myself do. I never saw myself doing this because I didn't like, was that a real thing? But now that I do it, I don't see myself ever really doing anything else outside of like the male kind of health and grooming space. I think I love it. So
me and Matt would have like a competition sometimes. Like, he'd be like, damn, you got the Daily Mail, but then Matt's like, I got GQ this week. It's like, remember that shit? We would be in competition for like who gets the bigger press, and we always go back and forth, man. But
because John and I like were the two New York guys. We worked mostly out of New York, and Greg as well. But Greg started working with another UK company for a bit before he joined us. But me and you had our companies, and and then it was really just me and you. And I still think, you know, we're one of the leaders in here in New York, the two of the leaders, but. Yeah, it's a friendly competition. It's good. Every time I see you or Eric, it's like dapped up, and it's been too long. And
it's been long, man. Yeah.
We got to thank this guy for bringing us together.
Love connection, man. You hooked it up, Joey.
I'm glad you guys are here. What was your what's like one of your proudest accomplishments or one of your favorite procedures that you've done on a person that like really made you feel good? Can you guys think of one on top of your head? I'm sure you have a couple, but what's one that really highlights?
I mean, for me, there was one kid from Alaska that I think it always stuck out for me. Is he came all the way from Alaska to New York City, and the company claimed that I was going to be his artist. And remember, I didn't even work for this company or even part of the company now. But so he flew from Alaska to New York City, and when he got to the office there, they said, "Oh, Jonathan's on vacation," and I actually wasn't on vacation. I was at my own company. So they kind of hustled this kid. Long story short, they butchered his head, jacked it up pretty bad. The kid was depressed. You know, his father just passed away. He was really depressed. So a week later, he was still in New York for like 2 weeks because he was doing 2 sessions. He found me online. He's like, he came to my office. He's like, man, I can't believe I found you. I came here all the way from Alaska thinking I was going to get you, and this company lied about you actually working for him. And we actually got the moment after I did his session, because he was able to blend it without doing laser. So I actually did his session right there, and he starts crying and he got in tears. But we actually filmed that moment, which went viral. Like, a lot of agencies picked up. Daily Mail did a whole article about it. But that was one of my proudest moments, is this helping this kid out, you know, and this seeing like how SMP really affects people and seeing like how it can, what it really does to the soul of somebody.
It's great getting hugs. You know,
Yeah,
it came
that
from
was,
the corporate environment and people being happy and smiling when you're done. I mean, it's awesome.
That was the first viral hug, you could say, an S&P right there. But
It was good because you did an amazing job, well deserved, changed his life, and you caught it on camera. So
on camera, yeah, that's a.
Yeah.
It was unintentionally, actually. I wasn't meaning to even think about, this is going to be good marketing. It was just, it was like an actual organic moment. And
the best ones you can get.
I think that's, for us as S&P artists, catching that moment is the magic of S&P, is getting that moment where even before they do it, that's the moment you really want to catch the clients on camera. It's like, there's a magic there, that they trust you, you just
When they're looking in the mirror.
But yeah, looking in the mirror and seeing it. So
Yeah. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, right? And some of the ones are like not even. They're just kind of, sometimes the simple ones are just a good guy that you work with, and you're just like so pumped for them because they have a new chapter in their life, or they're getting married, or they got a new job. But one that comes to mind, he was a guy. We did a video with him too. It was during my 10 years of Scalp. So I did a thing when I hit the 10 years a few years ago, where I was giving away 10 free scalps because of 10 years.
Yeah,
cool thing. But the catch was they had to be on video. But
great marketing.
But yeah, it was a great guy. He had a great story. Well, a sad story. He was going through. You can watch the video. It's Neil, but he was hit rock bottom. He was addiction, depression, living on the street, all that kind of stuff. Great guy. You wouldn't know it by looking at him, but then was starting to turn his life around. Found a church, found a community, was doing all those things, but he was still struggling with the hair loss. He had all those other things, and then plus the hair loss really holding him back. So came in. We did some sessions. He was sharing his story. Just a genuinely good soul. Like, you couldn't actually believe that he was into some of the dark sides of the world that he was in. The living on the street and some of the addictions. But got that done. Was turning his life around. Had an amazing experience. Great result. Covered the transplant scar. Did all that. And I'll never forget. I'm in the gym one morning and I get a text, and it's just a photo of him on his knee in front of like a beautiful ocean or something. And proposing to his now wife. It's proposing to his girlfriend that he had met after or during like the process.
Yeah.
And so he literally went full stop, full circle, I should say, from where he was the years prior to meeting me, how he was turning his life around when he met me, got the treatment, married, and just a great dude. Great dude.
Awesome.
And so that's a memorable one for sure. Yeah.
The big question, Matt.
Oh shit.
People want to know, when is the next Scalp Show? Is there a next Scalp Show?
The Scalp Show.
Yeah. Is it going to be called the Scalp Show 2?
I think so. The Scalp Show is a good name,
I
right?
liked it.
I love that name, bro.
The Scalp Show wasn't bad, right?
Scalp Show.
Where bald people
You
can
should
be
do the
proud to be
Marilyn Manson.
bald.
The problem with the Scalp Show is that we have a bunch of shaved-headed guys and women. Well, the women aren't really shaved, but a lot of shaved-head dudes walking around the MGM. They think it's some type of like cult conference. That's the only problem. We got a lot of bald, shaved S&P guys in one room. The Scalp Show, I loved it.
S&P gang?
Yay.
There's a song called The Scalp Show. You should check it out.
Really?
I think it's called The Scalp Show. Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's Marilyn Manson or something.
Really? Well, then that's got to be our theme. To answer your question, Joey, I mean, I love. Did you like the first one? Right?
I had a great time.
Yeah, it was a ball. I think we have to do it again.
I think we got to run it back. You got to do it again. The location, you have to figure out the location, right? I think everybody, I've been asked by multiple people, when's there going to be another Scalp Show? When there's going to be another Scalp Show? We'll have to ask Matt.
Yeah, well, then I need a headliner here.
Headline.
I need a MC, podcast host, speaker there.
I'd love it.
We'll figure it out. I would love to do something like that again. I think the industry needs more of these. I think there's a lot of PMU conferences, a lot of barber conferences. I think they're great. I think they get you out of your silos.
Yeah.
When you work, a lot of you guys are individual or have small teams. Like, it's good to connect with the faces you see online.
Oh, it's great meeting the people that you talk to online on Instagram or whatever. It's awesome. It's great. It's like, hey, man, we've been friends and supporting each other for years, because I love seeing people support other individuals on Instagram. And yeah, maybe you're not liking every one of their posts because you're busy. You missed the post or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you see it, you're like, fuck yeah. Good for you. You know what I mean?
I know. You and my guy Max have become internet friends too.
Max is a fucking beast. He's a beast.
Yeah, I love Max.
He went viral. He beat me when I had, what do we have, 3 or 5 million here. And then he went like 21 million. I think he's at something crazy.
Wow.
And his was an actual SMP. Mine was me like crying and doing stupid shit. He was actually and it was like so clean too.
It's wild the things that go viral.
Yeah,
And
he didn't know it either.
No, and I mean, and it's great. I mean, he deserves it. He's been working with me for a while now. Mac's a great guy, but yeah, Scalp Show to be TBD.
You hear that, people? It's in the it's a possibility.
There,
it's a possibility.
I'm there.
Yeah.
And Gerow will be there.
Brother.
You get to see us both in live. We'll do this again live. You know.
Yes.
Hey, I just want to say thank you to both of you for what you've done for scalp micropigmentation industry, growing it here in the United States, and for me as a person who I was working a corporate job. It was safe. I liked it. It provided me the means to live the life. But now being able to be my own boss, call my own shots, be creative on camera, be silly, embarrass myself. And I owe it all to you guys. If you guys didn't lay that foundation in those early years of 2010s to 2015 to 2016, I know for a fact I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. And as well as hundreds of other individuals in the United States and around the world. Thank you so much for everything you guys have done. I really mean that. It's truly changed my life mentally, physically, and emotionally. And
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing to hear, man. Appreciate that, and we're better with you and guys like you in this now. And what you're doing here is great. I love it. Thank you for having us.
Thank
You make us proud, man.
Yeah.
I seen you blossom like a little flower, and man, we love it, brother.
I appreciate that.
So you guys can find me. My personal Instagram is at the Scalp King. My company is Scalp Micro USA, and our product in company is Follicule. Follicule.com. That's FOLICULE.com. Don't drink it.
You guys can find me and my team, GerowHairInc.com. My personal Instagram is Jonathan Gerow. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Gerow Hair Inc. Check it there. InQ Care, Jade Needles. We got some new products coming out soon, you guys. This is for Matt. We got a whole Christmas bag for Matt. Tomorrow, Joey, I got you. We're going to hook you up, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Eric, you hear that?
Eric Hiller.
John said I can.
We'll find out after the fact.
Thank you guys so much. Hey, thank you for coming on the Dattie podcast. Stay tuned.